Welcome back to Operation Evil. I don't know the number of this episode, but I will tell you the title. It is called Natalie's Law, featuring Leah. And my ex co-host Megan is still around.
Here I
She hasn't
am.
even been gone for an episode yet.
Here I am. I will support this podcast in any way, shape, or form that I can, and I am happy to be back in a week.
I think it's going to be really hard for her because she like sends me new cases all the time, and then this is like in her blood, but she contacted me and she said, "Hey, I just met someone and we really need to have her on the podcast." And Megan, if you want to take it away and introduce
Sure.
our guest here.
Absolutely. So my daughter and I went to a local market where vendors are welcome and they kind of, they have their items out for people to purchase. And I happened to stumble upon a booth with some candles in them and they smelled so good. So of course my daughter was all into it and she runs in there and I meet Leah. And that is who we have here tonight. And Leah had some samples, and in her sample packets was a QR code. And she had mentioned to me, she said, there's a QR code in there, which I thought was like a business card. And I'm like, oh, great. We can get in touch with you because we had someplace to go. Actually, we had dinner in our hand when we were walking out. We went to hit up the Hawaiian joint. But anyways, there was a QR code in there. And I was like, what is this? And she had just briefly mentioned to me, hey, if you want to click on it, it's a petition. And that's all I got. And I didn't want to press because I could tell that maybe there was some emotion attached to this. So I just left it alone. But then when I got home, I clicked on it. I quickly found her on Facebook. I followed her and we have her here with us tonight. And I'll let you take it away, Leah.
Hi. So I'm Leah. I'm a mom from Kentucky. Basically, my petition is about my daughter, Natalie. She passed away on April 5th, and and she was only 18. So kind of like a little backstory so that you guys kind of understand like the leading events so it's not so confusing. Me and Natalie clashed a lot, but that's because, we're just alike. She was my mini me. We were both stubborn, outspoken, we stood up for ourselves, and she had my fire, my voice, my fight. So even when we butted heads, I was always proud of her. But Natalie also struggled with her mental health, and a lot of her teenage years were spent in and out of residential programs and behavioral placements. There were times I felt like I had already lost her to the system long before I lost her for real. But still, I always believed and thought that we'd reach the moment so many other moms and daughters do when she grows older and looks back and realizes that everything I did was out of protection and love. But Natalie never got that chance to grow or to evolve or to become the beautiful woman I know she could have been. On or yeah, March 13th, she was horrible with staying on her medication like a lot of kids are and at that age. Some adults, especially with mental health. So she had went back. She had been off medication for like 7 months, and they started her on new medication because she was an adult now, and it was Effexor and hydroxyzine. And she was on it for a week, and she started to have a psychosis episode. And which, if you look into those medications, they are known to cause psychosis episodes. So was she was staying with her boyfriend's mom, and they ended up calling the police. She ended up going to a hospital, and they had sedated her, gave her 4 sedative shots, to try and calm her down. And then they issued a 72-hour hold at a behavioral facility. She got to the behavioral facility, so it's like March 27th now. And she goes, and instead of being looked at as like this is a medication problem, she was being looked at as this is a mental health issue. And she tried to tell these people that she did not want to continue that medication. She wanted her old medicine back, but they didn't listen to her. They continued to give her all kinds of different antipsychotics and sedatives, and to the point where they had to petition for her to go in front of the mental health judge. So, March 31st, the behavioral place filed for her to go in front of the judge, mental health judge, and She goes to court on April 2nd via Zoom at the mental health facility. And the judge deems that she's unfit and meets the criteria for a 60-day involuntary stay at a psychiatric ward. They then transferred her the same day, April 2nd, to this facility, this psychiatric ward. And when she got there, they, drug tested her. They did an EKG and it came back abnormal. She had QT prolonged symptoms showed on her EKG, but she was constantly telling them she doesn't belong there. She doesn't need to be there. She wants out, which, like I said prior, Natalie has been in the system. So she knew what to say. This is now, she's at a different place and it's the first time she's ever been at this place. And it's a new set of eyes and ears. So she's able to, I think, convince them like she's fine, even though they were doing the drug testing and the EKGs and stuff. Like the doctors didn't even look at this stuff until she was already released. And the social worker that she got was already trying to reach out to people for somewhere for her to go. They called my mom, her grandma, and my mom told them like she does not need to be released. She's not okay. Something's not right. So then they got off the phone with her and called the boyfriend's mom, who said, "Sure, like she can come back and we'll see how it goes." Which that's not a stable placement, but
No, and how many days is this?
two. Well, they were calling on day one that she was there. She got there April 2nd. They started calling April 3rd and was trying to already find places for her to go.
After she was
Just
sent
court ordered to be there?
just
Yes.
for
Mhm.
60 days. Oh
Yes.
my
How do you
God.
get released when you are court ordered?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's where I am like, so so yeah, she has the EKG that comes up. Not only that, on April 4th, the day that she was released, that morning, a nurse in the documents that I have quoted her because she fell twice. She was at the medication window and she was constantly asking for Tylenol and Vistral, which these are PRNs, they're at per request. And she gets a glass of water, I guess, to take with her medicine. And I guess her knee buckled and she fell. The water spilled. She stood up and her both of her knees buckled and she fell again. And in the nurse's notes, it states that she fell twice and then quoted Natalie saying, "This has happened before ever since the medication you guys have me on." Not one time did they evaluate that, look at that, pay any attention to that. That was the same day they had already planned to release her. So of course that's what she wanted though too, so
Well, all
like
of them are going to say that.
right,
Who
exactly,
wants to stay
exactly.
somewhere that's unfamiliar? No
Right.
one.
And especially since it was involuntary, like of course she didn't want to be there. So she's trying to convince them she does not need to be there. And but
They never
there's go ahead, sorry.
they never tested her further for EKG either. They
No.
didn't look into that at all. But it's
Nope.
abnormal.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. Which I have been doing a lot of research. And at least, especially when you're on a court order, if any kind of abnormal test come back, it is like law that you have to like at least look at them again and like do another test to make sure like that wasn't a fluke or, she's stable. That was the whole point of her being there was to be
Right.
stabilized.
Otherwise,
That's
what's the purpose of doing it in the first place?
Right.
exactly. So all these results basically come back the same day that she's released. So nobody looked at this stuff. They just released her and then they weren't expecting for her to pass away that same night in her sleep. And now I'm fighting an entire state, an entire system. And it's you know, Natalie wasn't just a patient or a case file. She was my daughter, and she had a brother that absolutely adores her and thought the world of her. And he has to grow up without a sister, and I have to figure out how to keep breathing when the very system that was supposed to save her destroyed her instead. And to me, that's where it like really hurts, because this could have been a freak accident. I understand things happen. This could have Something could have happened that no matter what would have been devastating to me, right? Like a car accident or something crazy, but the fact that we fought her entire half of her life in the mental health system, and for her to die this way is just, no, I don't accept
It
that.
could have been prevented.
Right, exactly. And that's where she went. That's where, when she knew that well, this time it wasn't because the medicine that they put her on caused the psychosis episode. She's never had that ever before in her life. Like, she's never had those kind of medicines either. So, and then, but they totally, all of the things that they originally put her in the hospital for, which was the psychosis and the PTSD and borderline personality disorder, it all got dismissed. And the final discharge from the last facility was borderline mood disorder. So basically, she was just having a bad mood. And not only that, they cut off all the medication that was administered to her this entire time and sent her home with just the Effexor, which is an antidepressant, but you're not supposed to stop antipsychotics cold. Like, that's a thing that's even on their black label warnings, because these medications have black labels on them and state like she should have been tapered off, she should have been
Yes.
monitored. But that
Hmm.
once again goes back to, that's why she was court ordered to be there, because she was under a heavy concoction of medication, and you can't just be pushed out the door like that. So they completely violated the court order. And now I've reached out to, so many different lawyers, and I had to really push to even get answers from the medical examiners. And, you know, finally I got a cause of death, which they noted on there was heart arrhythmia due to toxic medication combination,
Mm.
and list hydroxyzine and the Effexor.
That they
And
administered at the facility and
yes,
then sent her home.
yes,
Oh my God, Leah.
Leah, this
yes.
is probably going to be a fight for a long time.
I'm going to. And the thing is like, I can't get any help. The lawyers that I talk to, I almost like, I don't want to sound contradicting or like crazy or like one of those conspiracy theorists, but I have their notes in black and white. Like the
Yeah.
discharge, what the physician put on there. This is where I forget to tell the part where in the discharge notes from the physician, because legally, if you are court ordered on a 60-day stay, the only way you can get out is if two physicians deem that you no longer meet that criteria, and you have to notify the judge to let them know, like, she no longer meets criteria and we're releasing her. Because if not, she had a follow-up hearing that was going to happen in 21 days because of that court order. So no other judges or any court was notified when they discharged her either. And the discharge papers state that Natalie received, Natalie was medication adherent, no longer, being acting out. And her entire stay through the hospitalization, she received no PRNs and had no complaints. And then literally, the nurse notes say she fell. She's saying it's because of the medicine. She's got an abnormal EKG. Like, how can a physician, like, they didn't even look at their own notes from their nurses. And they totally lied on the discharge paper just so that it was court, or like it was met the standards of basically the good faith, that they released her on good faith, that she no longer was in a mental crisis, and she didn't meet the standards for the court order.
This is insane.
I
Yeah, it is.
know, it's like being in a twilight zone. I went and I became her administrator, right? And
Yep.
so I could get all of her court records, and I got every single stay because these lawyers are telling me, well, it's hard to prove mental health. And I'm like, not this one, not this one. This one is somebody that did it all for years, in and out, in and out, in and out. Same thing. And you guys have put in here all of her disorders and behaviors and all the things for her to show back up and having a complete psychosis, and that same doctor who gave it to her, instead of saying, whoa, maybe this medication is a little too much for you and causing you to behave this way, they covered it up with more antipsychotics.
And
At
it,
one point, she was on 3 different antipsychotics: Thorazine, trazodone, and prazosin. Some of them I can't pronounce very well. And then I believe that that's the whole reason, like, to cover their butt. That's why they issued the court order, was because they could say, oh, well, if we go ahead and court order her to go somewhere else, then she's no longer our responsibility, even though we just totally
Hmm.
messed her up with all of this medicine. The other facility doesn't even look at those records, right? Like,
Hmm.
she gets there, they read like she's on like, it's so contradicting. Sometimes it says she's under a 60-day hold. Sometimes it says she's under a 60-day court order. And then it's like nobody's saying, it's like nobody even communicated. They all, like, whatever station she was at, they all just wrote their own paperwork and then put it all together and then put it in front of the discharge doctor, the physician. And he was just like, yep, she's fine. She was already out the door. He didn't electronically even sign the paperwork until the 7th, and she died on the 5th. Like, you didn't even look at her. And then your notes, your what you're saying aren't even true to the medication log. And then here's the big kicker. It gets even more messed up if you can't, like, it's already Twilight Zone for me, but so then I get a toxicology report before I ever, got the cause of death. Like, I had to fight to get the toxicology report even. And after 3 months, I finally got that, and it said that the only thing in her system was hydroxyzine and Effexor. Where did the antipsychotics go?
Hmm.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
In the
So,
papers from the facility, did it say who administered what and
yes,
when?
yes, and nonstop, it said she was receiving Zyprexa, which is an antipsychotic. She was taking 20 milligrams of Zyprexa a day, every day, documented with them for 7 days straight, and it's nowhere in toxicology. Right.
Interesting.
So now I'm like, okay, so it looks like, how does that happen?
Hmm.
Like, I'm just trying to make math here
I
because
don't
I'm
know
like,
what the half-life is on it, but I mean, it would
Zyprexa
just,
is definitely not something that goes away like that. And
Yeah.
she was literally there. She passed away in her sleep after being released. So it was less than 24 hours. So there's no
yeah.
way it just disappeared, right?
Mm,
Where did the antipsychotics go?
This to me seems like wrongful death.
It
It's a
does.
All the
wrongful death
way,
suit all the
all
way
the
across
way,
it.
all the
Whether or
way.
not an attorney says to you, mental health is hard to prove. No, what's not hard to prove is the fact that the medication was dispersed, it
Hmm.
was dispensed, it was signed off on, her
Right,
EKG was abnormal, all of
right,
the things that you stated.
right,
That is proof, that right
right.
there.
It's in
I
black and white.
also I also want to know, which you probably, I don't even know if an attorney can get this because of HIPAA. I'd like to know what the numbers were at the center when she was discharged. Why was she discharged, especially when she was court ordered? That doesn't
Right,
make sense unless they have something over capacity, whatever, like you said, make
Yeah.
it somebody else's problem.
right,
But that in and of itself is a lawsuit to just
right,
dump her off into somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
right.
There's a lot
Exactly.
of
I
problems.
don't think,
Yes.
if I remember correctly too, I don't think HIPAA stands once they are passed. Like, I think
Well, they do,
they can
but
get that
like,
information.
mental health does. That's the difference. Is
Right.
like, there's the red tape. Like, if it was just regular records, then yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
But if it's mental health, I've had to jump through hoops, and that's why I instantly became her administrator, because it's like they're
Yeah.
all telling me, at first, you're not her. We can't give you that. This is a mental health case. Like, this isn't just a regular, she was in an institution. So it's like, there's fine lines. And I mean, they got so much crap. And it's
That's
like,
true. So
and
administrator is like a guardianship kind of
well,
thing.
yes, like basically, I became her administrator for her estate. So therefore, I can fight for her.
Okay. Okay.
It basically gives me a voice for Natalie.
That's good. That's good that you got that.
Yes. And the thing is these hospitals hide behind sovereign immunity. They act like they're untouchable, like accountability doesn't apply to them. Instead of protecting patients, they protect each other. Instead of admitting fault, they falsely falsify paperwork and make it look like nothing happened. And I have their contradictions in black and white. The nurses wrote one thing, the doctors wrote another. The discharge summary contradicts them both. And yet, when I take these binders of evidence to lawyers, I keep getting dismissed, and they look at me and see just an overly emotional, grieving mother trying to blame somebody. And that they tell me it's too big, it's too hard, it's too protected. But the truth is sitting there in black and white. And that's the bigger problem. It feels like families like mine are fighting like Goliath with a slingshot.
Yeah.
And if you have a court order under a KRS 202A, like I know all the codes now, and
Mm-hmm.
a family begging staff not to release her, medical records that contradict themselves, an autopsy that proves medication caused her death, and still no accountability, that should terrify every single person listening.
That is terrifying. So can you request footage from that facility to
I
see
can.
her, how she,
I
her
have,
state, you know what I mean, when she was
right.
there?
I have requested all medical records from them, but at the same time, I'm not getting everything. And because I don't have an attorney and I can't get anybody to go in there with, to back me up and say, hey, we want this, this, and this, like, there's no way of me saying that I can't, like, that's their way of like protecting each other. And until I can come, with like paperwork that states my rights, and I had to do that just to get the cause of death. Like, they're fighting me every single step, and it's
Well,
like,
they're going to.
why?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but where I know these people have to have children,
Oh,
or
yeah, I know. I
like,
wonder how many lawsuits are there.
well,
Yeah.
actually, if you look it up, the one that I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
if you look it up, there are several against the last facility she was at and the one prior. And every single one of them have been dismissed because of statute of limitations, because they prolong it for so long and you only have a year to file after somebody is deceased. So if I wouldn't keep pushing, they don't want me to have the information that I already do. And they know based off of how I had to get it and what I had to word it as, they know I'm coming. I know they do.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's almost like they're trying to backpedal all the way.
Well, yeah, they're counting on you not to know what to do.
Right. That is exactly what it is. They got the right one this time though, because
Mm-hmm.
if I have to, I hope like anybody that hears this and is struggling with the same thing or fighting anything similar, like, have you ever seen the Disney movie Ants?
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so I need our ants so we can take over these grasshoppers because
Yes.
we are stronger in numbers, and this cannot keep happening. And it's
No.
not just here, it's all over. Like, mental health is such a big issue right now. And especially with these kids, and the fact that like they're completely isolated from reality with these phones and just everything that's out there. And I'm so glad that I didn't have to grow up and be a teenager and go to school in this time frame,
Yeah,
because it's horrible. It is
it
so
is.
horrible. And these kids are suffering really bad. And,
The
I
sad
don't,
part is mental health has come a long way from what it was, and it's still not even near where we need it to be.
I agree
right,
with
Not
that.
even close.
right.
Leah, have you thought about teaming up with the other? I hate saying this, so please don't hold this against me the way that it's going to come out. But have you ever thought about teaming up with the other moms that have lost their kids in the same manner, like either by suicide or some sort of mental health issue? I mean, it is
I want
prevalent
to.
right now. I mean, it
Yes,
is.
yes.
Boone County just had it,
Yep.
an issue, and that mother is just she's going out of her way to get other kids help and so on and so forth. I mean, I think that might be the best bet. The next thing is we got to find you an attorney.
Yes, we
Right.
do.
Third,
That's
I'm
not
very,
crooked though.
yes.
Like
Well,
I feel
here's the
like
thing. They're
yeah,
all I agree. I agree. I won't say what I really think.
right.
But I do also want to say that I am glad that we met.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
I am glad that I clicked on the QR code, and my daughter's birthday is also April 5th.
Oh my goodness, wow. That is
Yeah.
so weird. And I'm a big believer in,
People meet for a
yes.
reason.
And
Mhm.
that is literally what I do at my booth too, it's like to help try to change mindsets, to put more positivity out there because that I mean, growing up and dealing with Natalie and all of her mental health, like that was my inspiration. Like these these kids need help and and a more guilt ridden way that I have to live with is like I couldn't help her. And, I struggle with a lot of that. And this is the only thing that's keeping me going because I, if I'm not fighting for her, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Exactly. And I do want to throw it out there too that a lot of times with these medications, they help you.
Right.
And then that person thinks that they're better. They don't need it
Yep.
anymore
Right.
without even thinking that those medications are the reason why they feel good.
And that's exactly Natalie's issue was that's why she was so inconsistent with it. She would take
Yeah.
it and then she'd feel better and then
Yeah.
she'd
She's like, I
stop.
don't need this. I'm good again.
Right. But then she'd also realize when she was starting to have like episodes,
Hmm.
and so then she would go and she'd reach back out, and this time because she was 18, she got way different medication that's horrible, especially with people who are, I don't even know why they would give that to her because it even states on there like between 18 and 24, not recommended, especially in suicide, people that have suicide ideation and
Yes.
self-harm. Like, so you just and put her on 75 milligrams, started her at 75
Yeah.
milligrams.
Obviously, the last medication was working.
Right. And she was saying the whole time, and for whatever reason, like, how on iPhones now they have the record thing?
Hmm.
Well, my family kept asking me a bunch of questions. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what is going on because she was saying so much crazy stuff. Like, just she did struggle with mental health, but this was clearly different. Like, the
Hmm.
stuff she was saying was just out there. And so we were all like, okay, like everybody's calling me. And the last time before she left the first facility, she had called me and I recorded our phone conversation on my iPhone, which I don't even know why I did that. Like I had no idea at the time why. Like it was just I just did well, I guess because I was going to let my family listen to it so they could understand what was happening because everyone was asking me questions, and she's on the phone in the recording even stating like I said, did you tell them to look at the medication they have you on? Because you've never acted like this before, and this is the only difference. And she said, yeah, I told them, and they said it's not the medication, it's me. And it's like they didn't even listen to her. They just kept, her blood pressure was extremely low, and her heart rate was 122. Like the contradiction, like all of the signs of the medication, something happening, right? Like her body was clearly reacting.
Hmm.
She reported her tongue tingling, um,
Oh.
dry mouth, and then constantly saying that her head was hurting and asking for Tylenol. Constantly saying that she was still feeling anxious, which explains the high heart rate, and getting visceral and requesting it nonstop. And but you all think she's fine and then just let her go because she said she didn't need to be there.
I feel like I'm sitting here thinking, like, what other records can you compile to even strengthen your case even more? Can you think of anything, Megan?
Do you have the court documents? You said you have all the court
Yep.
documents?
Yep.
Okay.
And it clearly states that it's under KRS 202A. Like, and if you look up that code, Like, it shows you everything. It says that she can be discharged early, but two physicians have to approve it. Well, when the physician contradicts everything that's been documented, like, that's lying. You're falsifying records right there.
Well, you
You did,
said, and the date was later, correct? It was
yeah,
April 7th.
the electronic date wasn't even signed until April 7th to close it out. Like, that's when they go in and put in their final notes, and, you know, that's the electronic signature of when he signed off on it, right?
Was that the second physician or the first physician's signature?
Um, Both.
Both. So
The
that
first,
would,
actually, the first one says the 7th, the second one says the 8th.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. The EKG that was abnormal. The first physician looked at it on the 4th, the day she was released, and the second one, like, I guess because yeah, like, they reviewed it, and that's not even signed until the 8th, as 7th or 8th as well. So it's like, you all already had her out the door. And even in the corner of the note on the EKG, it says discharged on April 4th. And it's like, well, it's too late now. Like, she died
Okay,
in her
so
sleep.
people listening in Kentucky, if you can think of anything that can help Leah, an attorney, some more evidence to even think to ask for that maybe we're missing, like there's got to be someone out there that knows what next steps can be taken.
Yes.
This sounds like a solid case to me. I just don't
And I mean, and that's
understand.
why I don't get why no attorney wants to touch it. And I know that because if you're
You're
a
going up against the
state,
system.
yes, if you're a state owned facility, you have immunity. Well, immunity doesn't cover wrongful death.
Correct.
And I know that. And, my daughter didn't die from her illness. She died from a system that thought that thought they were above the law. And that's basically why I'm here, because it's not for sympathy, but for awareness. Like, if
Yeah.
this can happen to Natalie, it can happen to anyone's child, anyone's loved one. And, like, I refuse to let them sweep her death under a rug of immunity and have her voice silenced. And I'm fighting for Natalie's law. And for them to obey court orders. What I want to change is that if they can prescribe this dangerous medication, then it should be court ordered or law that you be monitored for 2 weeks, because it takes a long time for these medications to even interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're allowed to give it to them, then they should also be allowed to be supervised or monitored to make sure that they can handle it. Because if not, they're just killing these people with medication, and they don't, I don't know if they get money for prescribing or pushing out so much medication or whatever it is, but that's not a reason to just
Yeah.
dismiss dismiss people's actual, like, problems and mental health issues, and then just totally disregard them. And,
And
like,
let's not do 2 days when we're supposed to do 60. Like,
right,
That's
how did that
ridiculous.
happen?
I still can't get over that. Like, I still don't understand. That's why I did so much research. It's like, how? Like, I wasn't going in to try and accuse anybody. I was going in to try and get answers, as
Yeah.
any mother I feel like would do, especially after losing their child, Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want answers, and I'm not trying to accuse people, but the more I start getting answers, the more that I start looking at things, the more questions that I have that they ignore. Like, well, then it's almost like it's in black and white. It's in your own handwriting, and you just pushed her out the door, and there's no reason for that. She should absolutely still be here. She should absolutely still be able to to live. Like,
Well,
that's
yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. What are we missing? You know what I mean? Like,
I've looked through it all a million times. I've searched and looked, and what's crazy is the more I read over it over and over again, the more bad things I find. Like, the more
mm-hmm.
discrepancies, the more contradictions, the like all of the medication logs, and then the mystery toxicology with no antipsychotics but a medication full of it. Like,
Mm-hmm. And
I'm
now
like,
you have the cause of death.
right, which states the medication.
Yeah.
And
Negligence.
yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I do know, but like I don't
Okay.
know how still it happened with the, everything that was in place.
I think what you're fighting for is amazing.
Thank
And
you.
I think Natalie's law would be very beneficial to
Yes.
everyone. And we will post that petition to sign.
Yes,
It has
thank
the
you.
information on what goals you're looking for to accomplish with Natalie's law. I think that if people have information for you, please get us the information so we can get it to Leah.
Absolutely.
If you know attorneys that would be willing to take on this case that she has worked so hard to collect evidence for, that would be helpful. I mean,
A
anything at
negligence
all.
claim. We
Or
need an
or
attorney
even
for that.
or
Yes.
even answers that I'm not missing because I'm not in an accusatory state. I just want answers. Like if you also know something that I'm missing that like
Mm-hmm.
allows this to be okay, like please explain that to me because I cannot make in my brain make math right now.
Yeah.
And that is all I'm trying to do. Like an 18-year-old doesn't just go to sleep and not wake up.
No, that's not
No.
normal. No.
We need to find
And
you a medical malpractice attorney.
I
Yes.
I have been
One
looking.
one that can figure out if, well, one, the facility had a duty of care to Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
They breached that duty through their actions or inactions, such as medical errors and such. That breach directly caused harm, and that Natalie suffered actual damages. To
Yes.
me, this is a negligence claim. I mean, it and wrongful death. You can
Yes.
also sue
Mm-hmm.
for wrongful death and
Yes.
everything else that goes along with that.
I agree, and I have been preparing to fight by myself. Actually, was thinking about just going straight federal, like because all of her violation, all of her civil rights were violated. The all of the things, and on so many different levels. And it's like, okay, like I know there's steps and there's things, and it's like, well. I'm also ready to just go straight to the top because I'm done playing the game that they're trying to play. If they're not going to give me answers, then I mean, I'll file for answers.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to prevent this from happening to someone else because it should have
Absolutely.
never happened to you. Never.
Exactly. And I also, I'm a firm believer that if you're going to, complain about something, that you also have a solution for something.
Hmm.
And I also have like great ideas of things that I want to do to like help this being a thing that can happen anymore. Like I don't want to go too much into that because I don't have like any of that like legalized, but I definitely
Hmm.
have plans in motion to like help mental health people. And my goal behind what I'm trying to create is basically letting any mental health patient have a voice again, basically so that the courts and the facilities that they go to can't take away their voice because they did that to Natalie. And if there's something which I think is going to be great, like in my mind, it's absolutely 100% going to work because it'll give them connections to other people. It'll give them connections to resources, places they can reach out to. Um, it'll be able to help you have a voice again. So it's not where they don't feel like they're being monitored and that they're not being tracked, but that they are definitely taking their power back and having a voice with something that they're trying to get through in life and come together as a support system versus making everybody feel like they're, you know, something bad that just needs to like go away. Like
Hmm.
mental health is not going away.
No, it's
Right.
not. They need the tools and
Yes.
the information to be better,
Right. And when
to
you're
help cope.
having, right. And when you're having these issues, that's the last thing that you're able to focus on.
No, I know. There's just no way.
So I definitely don't want to just be the one complaining. I also want to be part of the solution. And, you know, I also just want answers as a mother because me and my son deserve that.
Absolutely. I think
Absolutely.
what you're doing is really, it's really positive.
Thank you. I'm trying. I really am because it was either let this swallow me alive and just crumble or take every last bit of energy and strength that I have in me to fight for her. And
Absolutely.
in a weird way, like I know it's probably a distraction too, because once once this is done, it's like I'm gonna have to really fully grieve because I was so used to fighting for Natalie when she was alive, when she went to these facilities, and in a weird way, now that I'm still fighting, it gives me this sense of like she's still here, which, you know, she is to me.
Hmm.
So,
Think of it this way, Leah, and Megan knows from all the cases we've covered, it has taken something horrible like this for new things to happen, new laws, whether it's an Amber Alert,
right.
um, or I mean, I can't think of a whole lot at the moment, but there has been positives to come out of negatives, and that's exactly what you're trying to do. And I think that's a good
Yes.
thing.
Yes, because I can't. Like I said, as much as we struggled her entire life with mental health, it could have been any other way but this. Any other way but this. And it still would have been devastating, but not like this.
Yeah,
Not with what she dealt with and not with how many times she's went and reached for help. And this time she was forcefully made to go and the whole system failed her. The whole entire system failed her.
it did. It did. It makes me sad because they have a chemical imbalance in their brain that they're born with, and it's not by their choosing. It's just they just want to feel normal
Right.
and feel good.
And unfortunately, when you start, you know, putting all these drugs into your system, it's almost like an experiment. What's going to work? What's not going to work?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I'll be honest with you, I have a very close friend of mine that her daughter used to babysit my daughter when I would remote from home. This was during COVID. And the one day the daughter comes over and she can't get off the couch. And I'm looking at her and she's, 12 years old. She should be, what is she doing? And I look at
Right.
her and I asked her, I don't want to say her name, but I asked her, I said, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "I'm not." And I said, "Can you tell me what's going on?" I mean, there was nothing. Her eyes were just glazed over. And I said, What's going on? Like, you need to tell me." And she's like, "I don't want you to get mad at me because I'm here to babysit." I said, "Take babysitting off the list today." I was like, "I'll
Right.
take PTO. What's going on?" And she sat me down and she told me everything that was going on. And her mom obviously told me what was going on too. Previous to
Right.
this, she was in and out of a facility that
Right.
happens to be similar to the ones that we were discussing, and they would just prescribe her with something else and send her
Yep.
out the door. And then, she'd be on it for a couple days, and then all of a sudden something else would happen, or a new side effect would occur, and then
Right.
they'd be changing it up. But the thing is that she was on, this because she was under 16 at the time. She doesn't necessarily have a mental illness. They can't
Right.
diagnose her.
Right. Right.
So I'm like, what is going on? So when her mom came, I pulled her mom aside because, of course, she was kind of embarrassed to even tell me. And I pulled her mom aside and I said, "You need to do something. You need to change your medicine." Well, the doctors can't just use her as a pincushion
Right.
and give her whatever. I was like, "You can clearly see this is not your child.
Mm-hmm.
Advocate. You know what I
Right.
mean? Advocate. You can say this one isn't working. Let's try another one. I don't know. Do
Was she like
something."
a zombie?
She was like a zombie.
Oh,
And
The
Natalie
one
experienced that as well several times.
It's awful. It's awful to me. It's you can't diagnose them, but you can give them something that's literally another chemical imbalance. Now,
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm a doctor, but I'm not that kind of doctor. I
Right.
I I don't understand. I
It
don't
doesn't make any
understand that.
sense.
And
no.
yes, I understand that we need to find solutions and we need to do all these things, but I don't think taking a kid and just pumping them full of things is the right way to do it either.
I didn't
Absolutely not.
realize that they couldn't diagnose a
They can't.
minor.
I
No,
believe it's before 16, isn't it, Leah?
actually, yeah, with certain ones, yes, 16, and then like other serious ones like schizophrenia and like a sociopath, they
Hmm.
can't actually diagnose you with that until you're 18 because the brain's still developing, but they can still give you all this weird brain developing or like weird medication that messes with your brain that is developing. So it's contradicting all the way around. And it's like,
Yeah.
what is happening? Like, I literally lost Natalie before I ever really lost her because of that, like, and it messed with her mood. It made like at the end of everything, it was basically what don't she have? Because they had all said all kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
like she had major depressive disorder, post traumatic stress, borderline personality disorder, unspecified mood disorder, like ODD, where she was defiant. And it's like, well, some people do have personalities, and that's not a disorder.
Right.
like,
Exactly.
like, are you serious? I'm like, she would come back and she'd say, "Oh, well, I'm this and I'm that and I'm this," and I'm like, "What?" Like, so, well, so what don't you have at this point? And then, which is even crazier to me because the last place that she was at just ended up saying that she had basically a bad mood and that she had a behavioral disorder. And it was like, so for years, all these people have just said all of these things, and now she's actually perfectly fine, don't need medicine. We'll just send her with this antidepressant, and she's just had a bad mood. And I'm like, what? What?
Wow.
That not I literally feel like I'm in a twilight zone half the time. Like, and when I tell this story, people do the same thing. They're like, this sounds like unbelievable. Like, how many times did every single person fail in this situation?
Mhm.
And it makes you think, like, are they all in on it? Like, it was this
Yeah.
like a whole thing? Like, you start thinking crazy because it's just that unbelievable. Like how the whole system just failed.
And all the more reason for you to push for the solutions,
Yes.
to say, you're pumping these kids with certain medicines, you should be monitoring them too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And when you're under 18, they do. They keep you for 2 weeks. But once you're an adult, you get the you usually get the bare minimum of the 72 hours, and she didn't even get that. She got 48. She got 48 hours under a court order. So there's no excuse for that. And
No.
somebody's going to have to give me an answer. Like, I'm not accusing you, but please explain to me how that happens. And
Mhm.
now, when that answer finally comes out, well, now you're going to be in trouble. And that's like why they don't want to answer it. And I get that. But you can't just hide behind immunity because you're under a state facility.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people listening, share this episode, especially if you know someone that might have some knowledge in any of this that could, I don't know, just help with answers on anything.
Yeah, even
And
if you just want to help me, just
yeah,
gather ants, like
right.
gather a crowd because it's such a big issue right now. Mental health is huge and it's getting some attention, but it's not getting all of the attention it deserves. And I know that there are so many people out there. I've talked to them at events when I tell her story.
Hmm.
So many people resonate with what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And if we can all come together, like we are more powerful in numbers. I know that suicide is, that was always, that was the 1% chance I did think in my head because of everything she's been through. In my soul, I knew that that wasn't what it was, but I
Hmm.
didn't want to you know,
Yeah,
take that out. But when they told me there was no self-harm, no signs of foul play, I knew instantly what it was.
Mhm.
And they all told me, no, no, that's not it. That's not it. I had to beg them to look at the medication. They didn't even ask, the medical examiner didn't even ask for her records. They were making decisions just based off of her autopsy, which was cerebral and pulmonary edema. And
Oh my
they
God.
couldn't figure out why. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, did you look at the medicine? And they're like, well, it was therapeutic. And it's like, it doesn't matter if it's therapeutic. It's those medicines stacked together, plus everything she was administered. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, we didn't get any of those records. Why didn't you get any of her records? How can you even make a determination of anything without knowing any of her history? It's
it's
like,
a good question.
where's the investigation? It's like, to me, they didn't take her life seriously, and then they didn't take her death seriously either. And it's like, no, absolutely not. I'm not doing, like, that's not okay. Like, it will take everything in me, but I will not give up. I promise you, I'm not giving up.
Good. And if there's like things that you want to add later as you find out things or whatever, contact me and Megan. We'll have you back on.
Yes, if
We can
the
give
further this goes,
updates.
yes,
I
'cause
mean,
I mean, when you see me on the news, don't be sad. I'm just saying, because
If you have a
that's,
picture of Natalie, we
yes,
can post that too, put a face to
yes.
Natalie's Law. That would be
I
really
would love
nice.
to do that. There
Yeah.
is one on the actual petition when you click on it, but I think like for your podcast and stuff,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
I would love to do that. And I really appreciate it because to me, it was like I've been begging and praying to anything and anyone, like, please, like, somebody just listen to my story because I'm not making it up. I'm not reaching. It's literally what I'm reading off their documents, and nobody wants to listen. So when she told me and you guys reached out, I was like, maybe this is my bat signal that I get to put out there. Like maybe
Yeah.
somebody, I know there's, people that struggle with the same thing. So hopefully I'm very hopeful and I'm very appreciative of you guys letting me come and speak my story, Natalie's story, and give her a voice that I feel like they just tried to take away.
By the way, I think that's very clever that you give out those QR codes with your
Yes.
stuff. Like,
Yes, because I
yeah.
don't, when I do my events, like, of course, I want to speak about it and I want to, you know, say, put it out there. But at the same time, I'm also not trying to get pity sales. I don't want pity. I
Yeah.
want I want awareness.
Hmm.
So I thought, well, I make these little tea light things and I can put them all in a little sack and I'll put a QR code in it and put a free sample. Everyone loves free samples.
Yeah.
So then they can get a free sample and hopefully they scan the QR code and look, now I'm on a podcast telling Natalie's story.
I
Like
know.
so
Megan, I'm so
amazing.
glad that you went that day.
I
I
know.
know.
And Leah, I could just feel you when you had mentioned, oh yeah, there's because I'm like, oh, your thing's in here. No, I put a business card in your bag. And the QR code is for, I could feel that there was so much behind that QR code. I just kind of stood there for a minute. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I immediately went home. I put Lucy to bed and I clicked on it and I literally sent it to Nyoka and I said, we have to do something.
She did. Like
Yes.
that night, she sent
That's
it
so
right to
amazing.
me.
Like that makes me feel so good inside though at the
Yeah.
same time because it's like that just shows you like I'm not giving up. I will do anything to get the message out there. I will, and the fact that it got to you guys and this is where we're at now and Natalie's story is going to get told, like that to me is like you don't even understand. Like I have goosebumps all over my body because it just is that meaningful to me. Like I tell people when they come, like I could care less about buying a candle. I would more or less like, just check out the petition. And of course, that's my business. And of course, I want to sell things. But at the end of the day, if I got one more signature instead of somebody buying a candle, that means more to me than anything. And I'm so glad that people are listening and starting to like pay attention to what's happening around us because if we don't do something, it's not going to stop.
Right.
Exactly. I signed the petition, by the way,
Thank you. Thank you.
like
Thank
that
you.
night that Megan sent it to me.
That means
Um,
so much.
I posted
and
it on my Facebook too.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So you guys, when you're done listening to this episode, go on the Facebook. We'll have that petition there and sign it, sign it, sign it, sign it,
And share it.
Yes.
and share it. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. That means
You're
so much to me.
welcome. Well, I guess that wraps up at least for now, and we would love to hear any updates in the future.
Yes, I will
Megan's
definitely
down
keep you
to
some.
keep coming back.
I'm gonna find you a mail prac. Are we done recording?
We can't. Oh, well, I guess let me do a
Okay. I don't
sign
want to
off
say
then.
anything crazy.
All right. So that will do it for today's episode. Thanks again to Megan and Leah for coming on. Megan already can't stay away. I
I
don't blame
know.
her. I'm just kidding. I was joking
I'm
to
a
somebody and I
terrible
was like,
quitter.
I've had two different hosts so far, and they're probably going to be like, God, Nyoka must be so difficult to work with.
No, no, no. And that's not it at all. I ended up being asked to teach some more, so I can't
I
do
know, I know.
research. So that's the truth. I didn't get kicked off. I didn't, go crying and screaming or anything like
And I'm
that.
not
Nyoka's very
difficult.
good to me.
But anyways, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Please share it and please reach out if you know any information.
Yes,
Until
thank
next
you.
time, goodbye.
Goodbye.